Where'd my notes go? Oh. No. Oh, jeez. Drop the headphones. Oh, man. Drop the damn headphones. Hopefully, these microphones sound a little better. I made some adjustments. As a matter of fact, I think I forgot one. Maybe that's the one I was supposed to make. Although, that don't sound right. Hang on. Well, I think that one went too. 1, 2, 1. Does that sound any better? They sound better tonight? I made quite a few adjustments. Good. Now, as soon as the tablet boots up, we'll get started. Oh, it's booting up. What are we at? 70%. That's good enough. Let's roll. Broadcasting live from downtown Cleveland, it's station WDWL TV. And I am the Grumpy Old Man, and we are brought to you by Grumpy Vulture Productions. No bow. And we have been graced with the presence of the Grumpy Jackalope. And he is here for a reason. Hold on. Jeez, Grumpy, what do you got, dementia? Holy shit. Okay. Now we're ready to go. There was something. I'm still going through YouTube for music to accompany our 12 days of Grumpy Christmas. I found two. I gotta play them both again and see which ones I like. But there was one big thing we forgot. We cannot start the 12 days of Christmas with My True Love Gave to Me at the work. So, let me know what you think about this. So it would go, on the first day of Christmas, the Grumpy Jackalope gave to me a vulture in a dead tree. Does that work? Does that work for everybody, or we want something? I wanted to kind of incorporate the jackalope. And it kind of fits. No, he's not a member of the crew. See, we got the vulture in a dead tree, and I thought, you know, the grumpy jackalope would be giving me gifts for me allowing him to actually appear. I'll write it down, Ron. I'll write it down, and it's not carved in stone yet. But yeah, we can't go with my true love gave to me. Now, it ain't gonna work. I read some interesting news articles today. Like the guy in Colorado that bought the storage locker. You know, after a while, when people don't pay, they auction off these storage lockers. And when they opened the door to let everybody look, the storage locker was full of big plastic totes. Now, you're not allowed to walk in, you're not allowed to touch anything. It's all kind of blind bidding. You know, you look, okay. So this guy is the high bidder. After all the lockers are auctioned off, then you are allowed to go in and get your goods. So this guy goes into the locker and he opens a tote and he goes, this looks strange. Then he opens another one. This looks strange. He opens all the totes. And he calls the sheriff. The totes contained $8 million worth of fentanyl pills and another 12 kilos of powdered fentanyl, which is enough to make 6 million more pills. Talk about a losing affair. And the whole thing was the drug agents in Colorado have been looking for these stashed drugs because the guy that was trafficking has been in jail for over 4 months. I wonder if they gave him his money back or if there was a huge reward. Yeah, the whole storage locker was full of fucking fentanyl pills. I hope somewhere along the line he got his money back. Or I hope there was a huge reward and he made a profit, because talk about a losing affair. You open the locker, you look in the totes and go, uh-oh. And the sheriff carts your merchandise away. He originally said he thought of just dumping it all in the dumpster. And figure cutting his losses, and he had a bunch of totes. One of the biggest drug busts in Colorado. I used to watch that storage wars. And sometimes it was amazing what people bought. And then at other times, they'd buy a locker full of shit. Now, you know, the storage areas were out around Hollywood. And a lot of the lockers would contain Hollywood memorabilia. And then some of the lockers would contain a bunch of shit that people didn't know what to do with when they got evicted from their apartment, you know. Another interesting story. A Marion County, Florida man was arrested for murder. Now get this. The woman he murdered flew here from Portsmouth, England. And the reason she flew here was to be violently given a dirt nap. There is an online group that agreed if she flew to Florida, someone would give her a dirt nap, which they did. I guess you can find anything online nowadays. Yeah, she flew here explicitly to be given a violent dirt nap. They said she had mental problems. Well, and then an item in the news that I hope goes through is the proposed $2,000 tariff refund checks. Mr. Big Hair wants to give all Americans who earn under $100,000 a $2,000 like rebate check. Now, anybody earning $100,000 should not be getting a rebate check. It should go to, first of all, seniors on unsociable security, and then work your way up. And then Pam Bondi, and we know who Pam Bondi is, the U.S. Attorney General, said that the Epstein files will be released in 30 days. They would be released sooner, but right now there's a shortage on black Sharpies to do the redactions. And an Olympic snowboarder has been indicted and is on the FBI 10 most wanted list for dirt napping, witness intimidation, drug trafficking, and money laundering. Now get this. This guy is a Canadian citizen who was living in the U.S. He is accused of importing 60 metric tons of cocaine annually into the United States and Canada. 60 metric tons a year. How did they get that shit across the border? And on an upside, there was a news article today that says Olive Garden donates all unserved food to homeless shelters and food kitchens. At the end of the evening, everything that was prepped and not served gets containerized and shipped out to homeless shelters and food kitchens. I guess our Olive Garden figures might as well let the homeless suffer too, because Olive Garden's quality is kind of dropped over the years. Unless you go there for soup and breadsticks, because that's unlimited. So anybody have any luck finding pennies? I went to 2 more banks today. I also went to 2 more supermarkets and 3 mom and pop stores. Not a roll of new pennies to be found. Yeah, Darden Corporation owns like Olive Garden, Longhorn, Chewy's. They own like 6 or 7 different restaurant chains. And they said basically the reason Olive Garden can donate so much is that cooked pasta and pasta sauce has a pretty long shelf life in a refrigerator. So there's no worries now unless the soup kitchen or the homeless shelters don't use it right away. There's no real fear of like food poisoning. But like breadsticks, soup, any pasta item like, lasagna, whatever, anything that has a decent shelf life in a cooler gets donated. Which I'm glad to see, because when I worked at the hospital, It was disgusting how much shit we dumped into the dumpster every night. Well, I appreciate you got the crew on the search. I, you know, after talking to my little cutie up at the bank, I never should have thought this late in the year rolls of pennies would be available. Because this announcement was made like, what, February of this year? That's a lot of hoarding time. And that's exactly what's going on. Hoarding. For people to make, a big buck on a roll of pennies. I mean, unfortunately, I've been digging in penny cups. If I have to make up 2 rolls of penny cup pennies, then I will. But they're not going to be worth anything. Maybe down the line. But uncirculated is what brings the money. And since I have 2 rolls of uncirculated 1943 steel pennies and 2 rolls of 2012 Canadian pennies, uncirculated, I wanted to have 2 rolls of uncirculated American pennies. But I should have done this way sooner because I never imagined, and I should have known better, that there would be a big glut of hoarders snatching up rolls of pennies. Now, my buddy up at the Indian store, he told me every night when he counts out the register, if he's got any 20, 25 pennies, he'll put them in a Ziploc bag for me. But that appears to be the only way I'm going to get any 20, 25 pennies. Matter of fact, it was funny. The one bank I walked into, Citizens Federal or something, I pulled the book out, and the girl went, "Put it back in your pocket. I know what you want." And I said to her, "How do you know?" She says, "You want rolls of pennies, uncirculated." Yeah. She goes, "We haven't had them for 2.5 weeks." She says, "You're about the 10th person today to come in looking for rolls of pennies." So there are many more people like me, but I'm not looking to make money on them. Because the only person that's going to make any money on them, if he's smart, will be my kid after I take the dirt nap. I guess I'm going to have to leave a big note in the box. These are worth more than 50 cents a roll. They're uncirculated, especially the 1943 steel pennies. I was going to take them to, there's a coin shop up at Cam's Corners. I was going to take the steel pennies up for an appraisal. The only thing is, I found out, in order to get an appraisal, you have to fill out a form with your name, address, phone number, and show an ID. I don't want nobody knowing my address. My pennies could mysteriously disappear. I would like to know what they're worth. I mean, I can go online because there's a lot of coin appraisal sites. But I'm not going to sell them, not in my lifetime. That's like the silver dollar that my grandfather gave me. What is it, 1895 or something, 1899? I'll have to look at it. And I told you the story where that silver dollar came from. In order to make money, he found an old wagon on the, it was out on the wharf somewhere. And he kind of gave it a quick fix-up. And he used to wait when the steamers would dock. And he would offer to haul baggage to hotels. And the one time, this guy wearing a fucking top hat and everything told him, if you take all my luggage to whatever the hotel was in New York, he said, I'll give you a silver dollar. Well, this guy had like 6 steamer trunks and 12 suitcases. My grandfather said he barely got it on the cart and tied down without fear of losing anything. And he hauled this cart down to the hotel and unloaded it, and the bellhops weren't too happy. And when the guy arrived, he saw all of the luggage in the lobby. And he made good on his word and gave my grandfather a fucking silver dollar. And as hard up for money as he was, he said, I am never going to spend this. And he put it in his, as he called it, a billfold, and kept it up until shortly before he passed away. And he gave it to me. Of course, it's not bringing me much luck like with the Passat. But I have it. It's in my dresser, top dresser drawer. I wanted to get that appraised too, but like I say, I am not going to fill out a form with my name, address, phone number, give them my ID so they can photo it. No. Because if I'm walking in with certain coins, they might get the impression that I'm a collector that has a safe full of shit. Then they break in and steal everything. Because Boots would be the type of, I'll show you where everything's at. Give me cat treats. Damn spoiled brat. And he don't miss a trick either. He was sawing wood on my bed today. And I kind of tiptoed in and I gently put a package down. And as I turned around, the dumbass was at the foot of the bed. Treats, treats. I spend more money on cat treats than I do on grumpy treats. Oh, I missed a news article. This one was kind of sickening. It said there are well over 1,000 teenage girls who lose their life every year due to sexual strangulation. They're searching for the ultimate Big O. And it said that almost being strangled to the point where you pass out gives you the ultimate Big O. Unfortunately, you get the ultimate dirt nap if your boyfriend doesn't take his hand off your neck. Who the hell comes up with that weird ass shit? And they say it could be as high as 5,000 because it's not reported in the news a lot. Although there was a case down in Florida a couple years ago where this couple came back from bar hopping and both of them were pretty well inebriated. And they decided to have a little quickie before bedtime. So the boyfriend is squeezing her throat. And suddenly she rolled off the bed. Now, she rolls off the bed. He doesn't bother to go, are you going to get back up on the bed? Or no. He assumed that she was going to sleep on the floor. So he went to sleep. He wakes up in the morning. She's still laying on the floor. He goes down for an energy drink. And the police said, didn't you think it was a little strange? She was on the floor. And he said, well, I did think it was a little strange that she didn't at least have a sheet off the bed covering her up, but I didn't think much of it until I came back and she was like stiff as a board. I thought Anthony Bourdain just offed himself. Wasn't he... I can't remember what country he was doing that food show in. And when it came time for more filming, they entered his room and he was taking a dirt nap. David Carradine, I don't remember. Oh man. God, yeah, I don't remember David what his cause of dirt napping was. Gotta watch what the hell you say. Yeah, Anthony Bourdain. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was filming for an episode of his film show. And they found him taking the permanent sleep in his motel room. Don't they? Well, obviously not. I was going to say, don't these teenage kids realize that if they go one step too far, it's murder? You're doing life without parole. Is it worth it? Oh, okay. I thought so. I wasn't sure what country, but I knew he was in the middle of like the season filming, and you know nobody knew he was in that state of depression. Although he was a heavy drinker, holy shit! God, he could drink a infantry of Marines under a table. I watched some of the goddamn series. God, he was. I remember they were filming in Japan. And man, he was just hammering one after another, and Boilermakers, drinking sake and washing it down with a beer. But I guess nobody knew he was that depressed. But reading that article, I'm like, first of all, who came up with this? What guy says to his girlfriend, if I strangle you, you're going to have the biggest O you ever had in your life? And I can't imagine the girl going, okay. Jesus Christ. Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of it is unreported. You don't see it in the news. Like back in the day when kids were sniffing paint, it was in every goddamn news story. Today, you don't even hear about it. And how many kids end up taking a dirt nap sniffing paint? Or what the hell's that shit? keyboard cleaner. God, there was a woman arrested. God, it wasn't that long ago. Indiana, Illinois. She had like 30 cans of that shit in the back seat of her car. She was doing a snort and somebody walked by and called the police and went, hey, because she looked like she was going to fucking pass out. And she'd finish a can, throw it in the back seat. But this shit happens every day. There's somebody passing away from sniffing paint, snorting keyboard cleaner, getting strangled. But who on God's green earth came up with that? God, I could see saying that to one of my wives. Hey, you want the ultimate experience? Let me strangle you. It would have been this. Try it, asshole. Okay. I get the point. I cannot see any intelligent teenagers in their right mind talking in bed hey, sweetie, you want the ultimate O? All right, I'm going to strangle you. What the fuck? And who came up with this? And they were saying, this happens every day across the United States. And it's not just teenagers, but the study was done from age 15 to age 19. And, they said, but you there's other things for the news, but I mean like your local news station. You would think that the local news would report it. Talk about sick. Oh, Jesus, really? Junior high. Really starting young. I've told this story before. When I was managing the Buick body shop, my porter retired. So I had to hire a new porter. So this kid comes in, and he had no experience. None. And I told him, I said, you know, when you're detailing a car coming out of a body shop, it's got to be as perfect as the cars in that showroom. And you have no experience. And he said to me, you haven't hired anyone yet, right? I said, no. He says, all right, how about Monday? I come in and I will work the whole week for free. If you're satisfied with my work, you hire me. If not, we part friends. Now, he had a wife and 2 kids at home. I think one on the way. He was like 21 years old. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Another thing, kids don't know anything about birth control. So I says, all right, you're on. And I'll tell you what, I don't know where he learned his skills over a weekend. He did an excellent job. And when he didn't have a car to detail, he cleaned up the shop, went outside, washed down the sidewalk, swept up, vacuumed the office. I mean, he never stopped. So, comes Friday, he walks in, he said, well, do I stay or do I go? I said, you're hired. And he worked for me about 6 months. And one of my body guys come in on a Friday night. And he says, I got to talk to you. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. But he says, I'm going to hang around until everybody is gone. Oh boy. I'm thinking, oh shit. So he made sure every employee was gone. Long gone. And he says, I don't know how to tell you this. I'm like, well, usually come right out with it. He said, it's about Kenny. I said, what about Kenny? I said, Jesus Christ, the guy's doing excellent work. He says, well, every Friday night, he goes back in the paint booth and he takes a pint of paint thinner. I'm like, well, I said, maybe he's doing side jobs. He said, no, he's not doing side jobs. I said, how do you know? He says, because several times during the day, I have caught him back in the paint booth sniffing the thinner. I was like, oh, fuck. I said, well, thanks for telling me. He goes, well, I'm anonymous. I said, Don't worry, I'll handle it. Did I say every weekend? I meant every night. Every night, he'd get a pint can. Now, I don't know if he filled it to the top, but he would take a pint can of paint thinner home every night, not on every Friday. I screwed that up. So, when my delivery came in on Monday, I said to the delivery man, I said, how many cans are you coming in with? He said, well, I got 50 quart cans and I've got 30 pint cans and 25 half pint cans. I says, all right, bring me the pint cans and the half pint cans. So he brought them in the office, and I numbered them. Right? Sharpie, I numbered them. And then I called all my painters in for a meeting. And I said, on the repair order, I want you to write the number down on the can that you use for paint. I said, you will see that the half pint cans and the pint cans are all numbered. When you take a can, I want the number written on the repair order. They looked at me like I was screwy. Well, every night, I would collect the repair orders. And then I would go back in the paint booth. Can number 7 is missing. I'd make note of that. I had a little journal. Next night, I'd go in the paint booth. Oh, let's see. Can 22 is missing, not unaccounted for. Every night, there was a half pint can missing. Every single night. So, Friday, before my porter left for the day, he says, come on in the office. I want to talk to you. He come bebopping in, had his backpack. I says, we're going to do this one of two ways. I said, either I search your backpack right this minute, or I call Lakewood Police to come in and search your backpack for theft of property. What's it going to be? He unzipped the backpack. He pulled out the can. He went, this is probably what you're looking for. I said, do you know what you're doing to your goddamn brain? Do you realize what you're doing to yourself? I said, you're 21 years old. I said, by the time you're 30, you're not going to have a fucking brain. I says, unfortunately, I think you know what the next thing out of my mouth is. He said, yeah, I'm terminated. I said, yeah. He said, how did you catch me? I said, look at the can. Yeah. What do you see? Well, it's an empty can. I spun the can around. I said, what do you see? Oh, it says 42. You didn't wonder why all the cans suddenly had numbers? No. I said I numbered them, and every night I would check to see what cans were unaccounted for. And every night there was a can missing. He said, well, I still don't understand. I didn't want to give my employee away. So I said, you know, I circulate during the day through the shop. Check on progress, see if guys need anything. Yeah. I says, I've seen you with your nose in the paint thinner can back in the paint booth. And I kind of overlooked it. And I kind of suspected something was up. And that's why I numbered the cans. And you've been taking a can home every night, haven't you? Yeah. I said, well, go across the street, go see Craig in HR. You'll have your final check. So, Monday, his wife shows up. Red eyes. You tell she's been fucking crying all weekend. Why'd you fire, why'd you fire him? Why'd you fire him? I thought he was doing a wonderful job. I said he was. Do you know what he's doing at home at night? No. You have no idea what your husband is doing at home at night. No. You haven't noticed any silver cans laying around? Well, yeah. You didn't bother to inquire as to what these cans are? She said, well, no, because he throws them away first thing in the morning. You didn't think it odd that he came home with a can and then threw it away in the morning? No. So I had the can in my desk. I said, here. I popped the lid. I put it in front of her on the desk. I said, take a sniff. I don't think she got a full sniff. She was like, oh, holy shit. What is that? I said, it's paint thinner. Well, why'd you have me smell it? Your husband doesn't smell like this? No. I said, it's obvious you got a good nose. You don't smell this at home? You don't smell it on him? No. I don't know how he was hiding it. But he was continuing the buzz from work. Then I find out, get this, he had worked at Sherwin-Williams Paints and got fired. When I saw Sherwin-Williams Paint on his resume, I assumed he was a stuck boy. He was sniffing it, Ron. He wasn't selling it. He was sniffing it. He was a paint sniffer. A half pint of paint. He's going to sell half a pint of paint thinner every night? Nah. He was sniffing it. The painters saw him in the paint booth. It went on for 6 months before one of them had the guts to tell me. And then I went to Sherwin-Williams Paints because they're up at Cam's Plaza in the old Pizza Hut. That's how I know. And I asked the store manager, because I came in with my Dale body shop manager, gave him my business card so he knew where I worked. And I said, what did you fire him for? Same thing. He was sniffing paint thinner. I don't know, Ron, how he still had a brain. His wife crying on my desk. I felt about that big. I could have walked underneath a snake. I felt so bad, so low. I couldn't let that go on. I'll tell you what, the HR manager, he wanted me to call the police. I said, hey, maybe this, I'll give the kid a wake-up call. I don't know whatever happened to him. Could be taking a dirt nap for all I know. You get fired from one job and you don't learn a lesson. Hopefully getting fired from the second job taught him a lesson, but I think he was too far gone. If I was his wife, I'd have divorced him in an instant. In an instant. Two kids and one on the way. And she didn't smell it? I don't know how he hid it from her. Because all of my painters would shower before they left They always had a change of clothes because they didn't want to go home smelling like paint. Even though they had respirators and moon suits, it's still, every now and then I would take this vest home to get it washed. And my wife, don't you take that out of that plastic bag until it's ready to go in the laundry. Because it stunk from paint and body shop vapors. Now, my clothes didn't smell that bad because I changed every day. This vest hung in the building until I got to the point like, Jesus Christ, I can get a buzz off this vest. It's an old Cintas vest. I bought it. You could buy uniform stuff. I bought this insulated vest. Oh, man. Put it this way, when a hoodie doesn't keep me warm enough, I go to this vest. I love it. Oh, Kathy, if anybody knows, besides me, how nasty that shit is, and how it can fuck up your brain. You know, all my body men had respirators. He was walking back there. He put the can down. Every now and then he'd walk back in the paint room. He thought nobody was looking. And finally, the one guy said, I have to report this. And I never mentioned his name. When I talked to HR, I said, an unnamed employee. And I said, then I started watching. And I'll tell you what, it broke my heart to fire him. And Monday morning made it worse when his wife come in, two fucking toddlers, crying her eyes out. Give him a second chance. Give him a second chance. I told her I can't trust him. I said it would be different if he was stealing sandpaper or body filler. But he says, I can't trust him. Oh, I know all about that stuff, Ron. Like, when they would come in and clean the boilers at the hospital, my grandfather's, he always had a jumpsuit, and the fucking thing would fall apart. Because he would have to be around while they were cleaning them boilers. It's like getting sprayed with battery acid. He'd put the thing on and the hell, tear a sleeve, elbow'd be ripped out. The jumpsuit would just disintegrate. But you know, back in the day, we didn't have an EPA, protecting our ass. My buddy's father used to clean tank cars at the rail yard. He would clean tank cars at the rail yard. And sometime he'd be as sick as a dog. Because a goddamn tank car, they don't have a lot of ventilation. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, McGeehan. It's Roco now, I think, is the name of the place. It used to be Harshaw Chemical. And then McGeehan bought Harshaw, and I think this Roco bought McGeehan. Yeah, that was the old Harshaw Chemical. Right down the street from where a friend of mine lived off of Harvard was the big pit that they used to dump all their fucking chemicals in. Off of Harvard, they had a big, huge pit dug in the ground. And the trucks would go in there and dump the fucking chemicals all the time. It ended up, oh Christ, the government came in and they dug out millions of tons of soil and they packaged it in fucking 55-gallon drums and shipped it out to some salt mine out in Utah or something. Yeah, remember back in the day when God, what the hell did they call that? They had that super fund. And that pit that Harshaw dumped its chemicals in was part of the fucking super fund cleanup. Oh, I know that well. As a matter of fact, the friend that I talk to every Sunday, Kathy, her husband retired from McGeehan Roco. He ran that, what the hell do they call that? Oh, Jesus Christ. What the hell do they call that big fucking thing that he ran? Yeah, he was shop foreman or shop supervisor or something. He was over the head of the fucking plant. Man, Harshaw Chemical, the lawsuits, Jesus. It surprised me that McGeehan bought them out, although I think part of the deal was they weren't responsible for the lawsuits. God, I can't think of that machine that he ran that made the chemicals. Because if that machine would have ever blown up, it would have wiped out half of Harvard Avenue. Oh, I can't think of what he called that thing. I'm thinking vulcanizer. It's not. I cannot think of the name of that piece of equipment that he literally programmed for making chemicals. Because what was interesting, he had a special computer at home that was tied in to whatever that machine was. And he would check it constantly to make sure the mixtures were correct and certain processes were coming on and going off at the right times. He showed it to me once. He said, right now I'm watching the cooker, whatever, the cooker. And then when he retired, they came out and took that computer back. I can't remember the name of that. I'll call it a cooker. Oh, I know Harshaw and McGeehan well. Of course, like he said, over the years, there were a lot of safety items that were instituted, but he said still to this day, if somebody opens the wrong container, it could kill them. Yeah, they mix some pretty nasty shit over there. Because they do a lot for the government. But I cannot remember the name of that cooker. Because he showed me different things would feed in at different times, and it had to be a certain temperature, and that he would literally walk into his office at home and look at that computer at night to make sure that machine was running right. I cannot remember what he called it. All I know is if that thing would have blown up, Harvard Avenue would have been gone. Reactor Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, thank you. The reactor. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, I'll tell you what. He would tell me, he goes, if this chemical that's feeding in does not shut off at this level, he said, I've got to go. He said, first of all, I have to kill the reactor from here, drive down to Harvard, adjust everything, and restart it. He said it was like being at work 24 hours a day because he was the only one that programmed that fucking reactor. And he started there, Kathy, out of high school, sweeping the building. He started as a custodian or a janitor and worked his way up to the guy that ran that reactor. But, oh, shit, Harshaw was in the news for weeks. When the old EPA came in and found that dump pit, oh. Because a woman I work with at the hospital lived at, oh, was it like East 25th off of Harvard? Or East, it was in that area because you could see Harshaw, Rocco, McGeehan from the end of her street. You could see the sign. And she took me back to where that pit used to be. I mean, it's all filled in now and grass, but you could see the fencing. And she said they used to, trucks would roll down the street, dump in that pit. Because when my buddy's wife told me where her husband worked, I went, holy shit. The old Harshaw Chemical. One of the biggest names in Cleveland. Everybody knew that name. It's amazing over the years that place didn't blow up and burn down. And he told me before he retired, they were mixing some nasty shit for the government. He wouldn't go into detail. All he said was it was nasty. Yet no doubt he didn't come down with emphysema because they didn't wear respirators and shit back in the day. And nobody was told that those chemicals were deadly, even though they had a skull and crossbones on them. They never told their employees shit. It's like, hey, you want a job? Keep your mouth shut, do your job. Oh, a lot of employees filed workman's comp claims and lawsuits against Harshaw and McGeehan, Rocco. Whether they got anything out of it, I don't know. That's a name I know. Yeah. Interesting. Talk about small world. Jesus Christ. Are you sure we're not related somewhere down the line? Oh, yeah, they screwed their employees any way they could screw them. Oh, the stories were in the newspapers constantly. Back in the day, that was a nasty place to work. Nasty. That's why I say there had to be something in the sale when McGeehan bought Harshaw that, hey, we're not getting involved in your lawsuits and your workman's comp. No. Because they denied up and down the line that the employees were getting sick from the chemicals that they were mixing. Oh, Harshaw was in the news. Oh, Jesus. And then when that government cleanup Superfund, when they came in to clean that pit, oh, Jesus. They had people down at that pit in big moon suits and giant respirators, and they had showers. They were washing them off all the time, and oh, because everything that came out of that pit was put in 55-gallon drums. The drums were sealed and shipped out, I don't know, Nebraska, Idaho, and they're in a salt mine. They're stored 3, 4, 500 feet underground in an old salt mine. That's how nasty that stuff was. Because there were people that were protesting Conrail because they were shipping that shit out on train cars. You probably never paid attention. When you were driving down 480 or 271, did you ever see a sign with a circle with a HC and a line through it? That's all it is. I think it's a green circle, HC in the middle with a line through it. People drive by them every day and have no idea what them signs are. Because I remember one day I was working for the limousine service and I picked up my airline crew at the airport and I was taking them downtown to I think Holiday Inn. And one of the flight attendants said to me, "What are those signs?" And I said, "Which one?" She goes, "Well, it's a circle with HC and a slash." I said, "That stands for no hazardous cargo." And people have no idea what that means. The they're along the freeways. No, it's just a circle, HC, and a line. That's it. And on those freeways, you are not allowed to haul hazardous cargo. Now, fuel tankers are exempt. But anything else? Mm-mm. And they posted them signs, and no one knew what the hell it meant. Yeah, they've got them on I-71. I drive, if I take the freeway, I'll drive past 2 or 3 of them. But people are driving past them signs every day and have no idea what that stupid sign means. Including truckers, I'm sure. Or if a trucker does know and he's got hazardous cargo, he's like, hope I don't get caught. That's why most of the shit goes out on rail cars. Like all that crap they dug out of that pit that belonged to Harshaw Chemical. Now, I am sure that them signs are across the United States. Next time you're driving on a freeway, just keep your eye open, see if you see one of them signs. Now you know what it means. No hazardous cargo allowed. And the strange thing, when they put them signs up, it never hit the news. No reporter ever thought to, what does that sign mean? And then to look into it. And, you know, live on Channel 8 tonight, we decode the signs on Interstate 71, 90, 480, and 271. The Ohio Department of Transportation just put them up, and nobody ever questioned them. Yeah, and a lot of it came out of Harshaw Chemical bullshit, because they were transporting that shit down the freeways, and no one knew what was in the trucks. That's why most of the stuff now goes out on rail. If it does go out in a truck, oh, the truck's got to have all kinds of placards on it and has to have a special permit to use the freeway, can only travel at night. Yeah, if you're hauling hazardous chemicals, you got to have permits, and then you have to travel like from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m., and then you got to get off the road. You cannot travel during rush hour or peak traffic times. And you know, you take a look, Kathy, at rail cars and them tankers going by, you have no idea what's in them until they derail and catch fire. Because back in the day, it would have to say on the tanker hydrochloric acid. Well, now everything has a number. If you don't know what the number means, yeah, there'll be a symbol on the tank car. It'll be like with a red, blue, and yellow stripe, and it'll say 87. You don't know what's in there. Sitting there watching 200 tank cars go by with no idea what is in them. Because they don't have to say anymore. Because I remember back in the day, a tanker would go by and it would say hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid. Now it's a number with some symbols. So the average public has no idea what is going down that railroad track until it derails, like that shit in southern Ohio a couple years ago. Where they had to evacuate the whole town. But see, the railroad is exempt. They don't need permits. What they're hauling, you have no idea. And I'll tell you what, the railroad is sneaky. Because a lot of times, what they will do is they will take one of them hazardous tankers and put it in between some boxcars. Because if they hook them all together, somebody like, oh, gee, there's 20 tank cars in a row here. No, you'll see some boxcars and then a tanker, and more boxcars and a tanker. I know that because I had a good friend that worked for Conrail. And they'd say, hey, take that hazardous and put it in between them cars carrying truck trailers. So you'll see a bunch of trucks, semi-trailers and then a tank car. Some more semi-trailers and a tank car. Everybody's sneaky about that shit. Talk about interesting conversation tonight. Last time I start out with news stories. Boy, I'll tell you one thing. I had not realized that the heat coming out of the Passat was only about 60% until I had that new clutch put on the clutch fan. Man, that car warms right up. Talk about warm and toasty. Because Ryan told me that fan, actually, even though it's turning, it turns on and turns off. I mean, you start the car and the fan's going, but it's barely turning, really. And then when that clutch assembly senses the temperature is like 200 degrees, that clutch turns that fan on, and then it runs at full speed until it cools the car back to 190, and then it turns off. My fan was running all the time. And it would never build up operating temperature. Now, since I had that fan changed, oh, unbelievable. I have heat, and I mean heat. It got so hot in that car, I had to turn the fan down to 2 instead of 4. I was like, oh, warm and toasty. The only thing I have now is I still need to get my driver's door window fixed. But that has to wait until January. When the car is legally mine. That and getting my key fob programmed and getting the key cut. Boy, it'll be nice to have that push button, lock, unlock, alarm. Let's see. Lock, unlock, trunk, and panic button. Because the car has a built-in alarm. Well, big deal, it blows the horn. Beep, 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 beep. But right now, no alarm. That's the last big thing. I've got the kit for the window, but I'm taking it to a auto glass car company. They know what they're doing. I don't. I'm not afraid to admit it. It looks easy. Just hang the window on the plastic clips. Be the same shit that happened when I put it down. Window went halfway down and it went. I was so thankful the glass didn't shatter. So now the window is up and locked up. Well, yeah, but they're not going to be released for 30 days. There's a lot of shit they have to redact in them goddamn files. You think they're just going to say, here you go? No. They're going to redact the shit out of stuff. Christ, there's 22,000 emails that they have to go through. They're running out of Sharpies. Yeah, we've been lucky here. They keep saying it's going to rain, but we haven't had any. Not that I'm looking forward to it, but then tomorrow, how stupid. I have to go to the clinic and get my blood pressure taken. That's it. That's it. Walk in. Okay, we're done. See ya. You have to drive all the way out to the clinic to get my blood pressure taken. Oh boy. And you get flooding, don't you? Let's pray that it don't rain that much to cause a flood. I hope when you move, Ron, you're going to a little better area where it's not going to flood. Oh, fuck. Nothing worse than hail damage. Oh, God. I used to cringe when I was working for the body shops and we'd have a hailstorm. Oh, I hate hail damaged cars. Fucking hail does, oh, God. And if it's really big stuff, it'll break glass and everything. I feel sorry for your poor car. Your 1937 Hupmobile. Oh. Oh, Christ. You can't win, Ron. Hail damaged car and then it's going to go dark. Oh, I feel sorry for you, buddy. Car all beat the fuck with hail and then lose power on top of it. Oh, Jesus. You need a backup power unit. One of them that recharges with solar power. Gee, I noticed the other day, a couple streets from me, these people had a new roof put on their house. And then a couple days later, I drove past and the whole house is covered with solar panels. I was like, gee, they're preparing for a power outage. Yeah, but even small hail can do damage, Ron. Take a look at your car tomorrow in the sunlight, if you have sunlight. You'll see little dimples. Every now and then, a hailstone is like a golf ball. Dunk. Your 1937 Hupmobile will be all ding, 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 ding. I hope not, but every now and then, there'll be a big hail, It may come down tiny, but every now and then, a bunch of them get stuck together and dunk. Nothing nastier than hail, man. Christ, I can remember a couple years ago, somewhere in the Midwest, they had hail about the size of fucking baseballs. Guy was filming it, hit the back window, blew the window out, hit the side window, blew the windows out. I remember when we had one nasty hailstorm when I was working for the Buick dealer. And man, all of our brand new stock vehicles were all beat to fuck with hail. The good thing was I didn't have to fix them. The factory loaded them all up and took them away. Except for a couple of customer cars. I mean, one, I remember one customer said, "I don't care how dented it is. I've been waiting too long for that car. I'll take it as is. Give me a discount." And then for weeks I was writing estimates for hail damage on cars. Oh, God. We don't get too many hailstorms here, but every now and then we get a nasty one. I just hope your car's okay. I really do. But you won't be able to tell until the light hits it. Then look at it from different angles. Although there ain't too much you can do. Get it fixed, you know. Except you'd have to pay the deductible. Screw that. Then at our age, the last thing we want is an insurance claim. Because goddamn insurance companies just look to cancel seniors. Are you serious? Oh, for Christ's sake. Well, that's right. Trump did sign an executive order. Unfucking real. Gulf of America. He's losing it. I'll tell you what, he's losing it. Although there was some doctor the other day said that he's in mental decline. He said from the first term until now, he's been studying him. He's starting to lose his mind. And we still got 3 years. I can't believe that. Gulf of America. Unfucking real. I guess all the teachers will be pulling down the maps in their classrooms and taking a Sharpie and crossing up Mexico and writing in America. Well, one thing, it keeps the map and globe manufacturers in business. Tomorrow on Amazon, there'll be a big Black Friday sale on globes because they all say Gulf of Mexico. I guess I'm going to have to go to the office supply store one of these days and take a look at globes. They still sell them. I'll have to see what it says. I said, oh, this is Gulf of Mexico. Do I get this 50% off? What do you mean, no? It says Gulf of Mexico. Girl will come by with a Sharpie. There. It ain't the same. What next? Oh, Jesus. I can't believe that. Well, he did sign an executive order. I guess they don't want to piss him off. I wonder what happens if you Google Gulf of Mexico. Does it come up Gulf of America instead? I'll have to go on Wikipedia tomorrow. Hard to believe that used to be the trusted source for years. Wikipedia. Not anymore. Good old Gargle has taken them over. I wonder if they still print encyclopedias. Remember back in the day, Kathy, when the salesman from World Book Encyclopedia would come by and try to sell your parents a set of encyclopedias? I remember my parents falling for that one day. Salesman had everything all laid out all over the living room floor. They even sold a bookshelf. Yeah, we offer a bookshelf to go with the World Book Encyclopedias. That used to be big back in the day. The door-to-door salesman selling World Book Encyclopedias. Then I remember you could, the grocery stores, it was like every 2 weeks you could buy the latest volume. You bought A to Z at the grocery store. It was like every 2 weeks. Okay, we have A. All right, we got to go in 2 weeks and get B, you know. You had a set? Oh my God, Ron. What a waste of money. Although it would be neat to have them now. I don't know if they'd be worth anything to a collector. Have a whole set. They would be so outdated, it would be pathetic. Yeah, it seemed like it went in stages. The Fuller Brush Man had come by, and then the Kirby Man had come by, then the World Encyclopedia Man would come by. Instead of encyclopedias, I used to subscribe to National Geographic. And I used to save them. God, I had National Geographics that went from, because I was collecting them too. I had them back to like 1930 all the way up to date. And then I would go to Salvation Army and St. Vincent de Paul's and all kinds of resale shops and buy. I had a list. Okay, I need a June 1943 National Geographic. And then when I got divorced, my wife threw them all out. The whole collection. 40 years, 50 years worth of National Geographics. Really, to this day? Holy Christ. Although you can buy anything on Marketplace nowadays. I subscribed up until probably 10 years ago. I used to renew my subscription religiously, but I hated throwing them away because you can't lug them with you. Although I could go to the library and get the current issue and read it. Yeah, they're very interesting. They really are. It's a wonderful wealth of information. They really are. I have a I've got one around here somewhere, like a 1939 National Geographic. And an old Reader's Digest, too. I'll have to look for the National Geographic. I saved one, like 1937 or 1939. The neat thing about National Geographic was, like, if they had an article, say, January of 1970 on Africa, 1975, they would revisit Africa. They always updated. But I'll tell you what, for years, National Geographic hired the world's greatest photographers. They really did. There, They still film to this day. That's why I miss the National Geographic Channel. I miss it. I used to love watching it. Lately, Kathy, I have been watching all the National Geographic specials on Egypt. Because to this day, they are opening new tombs, discovering new pharaohs, and it's amazing. They dig over there constantly. Matter of fact, I watched a special last night on the brand new museum that they built in, I think, Cairo. The museum cost them $1 billion. It's bomb proof and it's got the highest security of anything like on Earth. Chemical warfare proof. They said that museum is like a fortress. Of course, look at the antiquities that they've got in that museum. They're literally priceless. Mummies that go back 3,000 years. I'll tell you what, those Egyptians were pretty smart. Not only to build them pyramids, to erect them big monuments, to having an embalming technique that basically, if you look at a mummy today, you can still make out the facial features and see the fingers and toes. They were amazing. Speaking of amazing, I have an amazing Italian sausage sandwich with peppers and onions that are waiting for me to make them. I went up to the store and got a nice fresh baguette today. Come on, tablet. Time to play some exit music while we still have 40%. We know where, right here. Alright. Kathy and Ron, have a wonderful rest of your evening. I hope your car don't get fucked up, Ron. And with that, we will meet again tomorrow night. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. See ya.